To Business Conversations. We are in the studio at Radio Bath here with individual financial planners. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hiya.
It has been forever, I feel.
Yeah,
It does feel like a long
It
time.
feels like a very long time. How have you guys been? How's the team? How's the company? How's
Yeah,
everyone?
really
good actually. We're settling our placement students in at the moment, so they're doing really well.
Doing really well.
A new intake start of September.
How many have you hired
We've got
in?
5 this year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And they're all incredible. They're just very hardworking. It's really good actually because there's a lot of criticism of young people coming into the working world nowadays at the moment, and they're just sort of breaking that mould.
Definitely.
And we're really proud of them. They're doing really well.
Wow. And why do you think they're breaking that mold? It must be something to do with the way you lead them.
Yeah, there is an element of that. I think you've got to understand what young people are looking for within their careers nowadays to motivate them. But I think they're just, as individuals, very mature and very set on what they want to achieve out of their placement, and they want to learn.
Yeah.
So they're really open to sort of feedback, which helps.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so they're doing well. So we've been doing that. What else? I feel like we've been really busy, but I can't actually think what we've done. I suppose, with the current marketplaces at the moment, we've just been working very closely with clients to reassure them over their financial plan and how things are. So that's been the main topic for us.
Yeah, that's not been easy
No.
with all the the mini budget or the kamikaze budget as some people are calling it.
Is that the new one? Oh, I haven't heard that one before. You must be getting a lot of questions because lots of changes are happening. And how does that affect people's view of their financial plan?
Yeah, well, we welcome those questions because I think, I work in financial services, and the first thing I think about when the budget comes out is how is this going to directly impact on me? And if you've already sort of had your meeting with your advisor for that sort of last couple of months, you'll be sat there thinking, does that worry me? Should I be worried about those things? So we do welcome those questions. And I think the main questions coming up are, can I afford to live the way that I want to live? Can I still save? Should I take my money out of my investments? These are all the sorts of things that they're asking us at the moment about what they shouldn't be doing.
And this is what we want to talk about today, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is. But I think in a way, although it's quite a challenging time and a difficult time for everyone, this is where we feel we get to demonstrate our value. Mm-hmm. Because the point of having an advisor is to have someone there who can actually hold your hand and look after you during these really challenging times. You're not on your own. So for us, we kind of get out of bed in the morning and think we've got lots to do, and we want to help clients, demonstrate to clients how we can provide good value for what we're charging. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Are we supposed to still save? I mean, what do we do with our current investments? It's so tempting to just cash them all out, cancel the insurance. Simon's having an allergic reaction right now. He's like, no. But we're going to get back to individual and their expert advice on what you should do. Can you stick to your financial plan when things are going so not very well? Okay, we had another word, but we're not allowed to say that on radio.
My suggestion.
Okay, we'll be right back with the financial experts here, individual chartered financial planners on Radio Bath. Welcome back to Radio Bath. We are still with individual chartered financial planners, the money experts. So before the break, we were saying things like, things are changing. The cost of living is going up. Your initial savings plan might have been disrupted, but does that mean you cancel all your subscriptions of insurance and everything? And then Simon was just really freaking out. Why were you freaking out, Simon?
It's that whole kind of concept of the present you versus the future you, which is I was listening to a webinar the other day. And they did some brain scans of when you think about yourself currently and when you think about yourself in the future, the brain patterns of thinking about yourself in the future are similar to when you think about someone else. There's a disconnect between current you and future you. And to bring that back to the question, when we think about stopping saving, we may be potentially making our situation slightly better now, but we're making our situation much worse in the future. And that's even more the case when we talk about insurance premiums. If we talk about the main kind of financial protections, life cover for your mortgage, critical illness, income protection, if you start to cancel those to save the money that you're paying on the premiums, fast forward to 5-10 years, you need to make a claim. That protection is not there anymore.
Unless you're young enough, maybe, then maybe your premium won't change if you sign up again in a couple of years.
Yeah, the other thing to think about is you can also get ill in the meantime,
True.
which could prohibit you from getting that protection in the future. So,
Oh, right. Then it becomes...
yeah, you need to be really careful with stuff like that, I think.
It's a bit like pet insurance. If you have a break in pet insurance and your pet gets ill, it's very difficult to then insure them once they've had that illness. It works in exactly the same way.
Because now you've got a pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
Precisely.
I'm like late 30s and knocking on
Really?
the door of 40. And every year we're like, okay, let's relook at your protection and where it's at. And it is going to start getting more expensive because you've had health problems along the way and you're getting older, especially for women. So it's kind of like a bit of a fool. What do they call it? A fool's errand to do something like that.
Penny wise, pound foolish. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But what can we do though? Because we are seeing all our costs go up. Even getting your house heated in the winter is getting to be, people have had to think about it. Have you had these friends who says, oh, I just bought an extra jumper?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the best fleece to have when you can't turn on the heat.
The current craze at the moment is buying these airers that are heated because they cost about 10p an hour or something to run, but they actually heat up your room fairly well, so you can shut the door and it works well. So there's lots of really ingenious ways of coping with the heating problem that I thought we're all coming up with, like putting your washing machine on, in the evening when it's cheaper electricity prices, etc. But I think the first thing that people do need to sit down is have a look at, get your bank statement out, download it onto Excel, and have a look at everything that you're paying for at the moment. And there are probably things that you could make savings on. So at the moment, I've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, Sky TV,
other streaming services are available.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so bad for this. I always get told off from Cynthia for naming brand names.
As long as you name my brand name, I'm okay with that. But
so, have a look at all those things and go, okay, what could we actually, not cut everything out because you still need to enjoy life, but what could we reduce in some areas? And it's amazing. We've got a spreadsheet that we go through with our clients and we say, okay, let's tot all of this up. And at the end, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a couple of £100 a month. That actually is the difference between me not having to stop my financial plan. And financial plans are put in place to cope with difficult times like this. So we need to remember that if you can afford it on your bad day, when all of this is going along, then you don't need to worry about cancelling anything.
This is a good test, isn't it, for people who want to, if people are afraid, like me, I'm a bit afraid when I do financial plans. I always think worst case scenario, when I'm old and I've got no money, what do I do? But if I can live on my bad days, that means anything else is a bonus. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, the other thing is for people who are working or out there during the day, bringing your own lunch.
Yeah.
It is the simplest thing, and it's probably the healthier option as well, because you don't know what's going into those bought lunches. Even if you think, oh, but I get a meal deal at X, for $3.99, for instance, which is already include, those healthy crisps and Coke and everything like that. You could probably get a really healthy bean salad for a lot less than that if you just open your own tin.
Yeah. There's lots of ways that you can save money, and I think as you get older, you get out the habit of doing that. Because let's face it, when we all came into our careers after university or school, we were living off 30 quid or 40 quid a week. And we were saying, okay, one meal in the week is a jacket potato baked beans meal, because you couldn't afford to have lasagna or fajitas or whatever it is that you want every single night. And there are ways of doing it without compromising your future plans. And I think it does remind you that actually sometimes for the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years we've been living quite frivolously, and we've had some good times, and we've been able to pay for all of these extra things that we've got, and now it's just about making sensible choices.
Yeah, what you just described there is lifestyle drift, which is where as we start to earn more money, the things we spend that money on just go. So actually every couple of years having this situation where you take stock and go, actually, do we really need X, Y, and Z? can actually allow you to rein it in and mean that you're not just constantly spending what you earn every single month.
Yeah, buying own brands
Yeah.
in the supermarket
Swi-
instead of because we get the same. I remember when I was living with someone, and she loved her cereal, but she was very sensible. She said, just buy the own brand. You know, when I did supermarket shopping with her or without her, her list is always the own brand stuff. It tastes exactly the same.
Yeah, it's made in the same factory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you
Made in the
go.
same factory.
Buying own brand things,
And you
it's
know,
amazing.
switching supermarkets.
Mm.
I will be good and not name any, but we decided to switch supermarkets. Think of one.
And all the business people, we're with the supermarkets, like, dang it, that's why my revenue's gone down.
But we switched supermarkets, and we've gone from spending about 100, 120 pound a week on our food down to 40 quid.
Yeah.
And you know, we've made decisions like, okay, let's not drink in the week. Someone won't buy alcohol. So there's lots of things that you can do, but you have to do it in a way where you don't feel like you're compromising on your lifestyle.
Yep.
Because it's still important that you still enjoy life, because if you don't, it's then quite easy to then cancel your financial plan and stop saving and stop having your insurance products, because you're not motivated in the everyday short term to then keep going on the longer term future self.
I was watching a documentary about how they are trying to help people under the poverty line in the U.S. They taught them how to cook. It's very simple. Sometimes when you go into the shopping baskets of people who are not doing very well in their lives, they're actually full of ready-cooked meals. And that is so expensive compared just learning how to take raw vegetables and meats and everything and just cook it, even if you can even eat meat. You know, and still save rather than buying those ready-cooked meals. But anyway, there are a lot of things. But I like the idea of taking stock first, because all these ideas will be relevant or not relevant to you depending on what your current spending patterns is.
Definitely. Like, we've gone from having a dog walker come 3 days a week to 1 day a week. You know, we bought a slow cooker because actually that is really easy. You chop your vegetables and you meat it, and then your dinner's ready. And we were finding that we were spending money on takeaways, not because we wanted a takeaway, but because sometimes we didn't have the motivation to cook in the evening. So we now cook on a Sunday and we use the slow cooker. So I think it's about your life as a whole, and having a look at that bank statement and asking yourself a question: why do we actually spend in these areas, honestly? And what life hacks can we put in place to prevent ourselves from having to spend money on those things?
Yeah. I remember when I was growing up, we carpooled to school.
Yeah.
Because that means only one car, and actually there's 4 people in the car instead of just one car with 2 people all the time. There's always half full.
Yeah.
How do we optimize? And these subscriptions that you were talking about earlier about entertainment and everything, the family packs are actually very reasonable. But people, sometimes they can't be bothered because they're earning enough.
Yeah.
Even if they've got father, mother, daughter, cousin, having that same exact subscription, they say, I'll just get my individual subscription. Actually, it only probably costs a little bit more to include more of your family.
And charities are really struggling now. You know, that's the first thing that some people stop giving when it's hard times like this. And I think actually, if you could change some of your habits, your monetary habits, that could mean that you still could contribute to the charities that you want to. You know, I was quite tempted to cancel our National Trust membership, but I thought, well, now's probably the worst time for us to do that. So let's actually go out and use that and use it as a way to save money, because it's a free day out and we'll take our own lunch. So there are lots of reasons. I try to find what motivates you to make these changes, and for me, giving's really important. So I think actually if I use a different streaming service, that could mean that I could still keep donating to the RSPCA every month and not have to cancel that as well.
Amazing.
I think another tool that my wife and I use is when you think about money. You said, I can't be bothered to take my 2 streaming services and make it a family pack. But actually, if you work out the value of your time, so say I'd have to work an hour, 2 hours, whatever, to do that. All of a sudden, you're like, the classic one is when it comes around to like car insurance time.
Yeah, I'm terrible at this.
Car insurance comes around, auto renewal quote is that. Are you going to spend an hour ringing round? Well, I did it recently, and that hour saved me 150 quid across 2 cars and home insurance. So I'm like, well, it would take me probably longer than that to earn that. So put that value to your time and start to treat it as a job. It is your job to save that money.
Unless, you're earning so much per hour that if you can't be bothered picking up a £1,000 bill on the street because just bending down will spend so much of your time. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, absolutely. Calculate the value of your time. Welcome back to Radio Bath. We're still with business conversations with Unividual, the experts on your money advice. Yeah, the money experts. Now, we've talked a lot about saving money, bring your own sandwich, blah, 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 type of thing, which is all very useful.
Yeah.
But what about the flip side? People who have money, is it the time to invest or should we wait?
Wow, we talked about this off air, didn't we? So it's that whole kind of, the question that I have been asked a lot over the last 3 weeks is, where's the bottom? Now, if we knew that,
we'd
all
rich.
be millionaires. But ultimately, with markets lower than they have been recently, the way I kind of describe it to clients is, if you went into your local supermarket and your favourite coffee was on like 2 for 1, what would you do? You'd buy 6 jars.
When is it going to be 3 for 1? Though?
Yeah,
You never
okay.
asked the question.
I knew you were going to ask that.
I knew you. Okay.
But ultimately,
I see.
like, if you have
That's a
cash
good
now,
example.
you're buying at a sale. All the greatest companies in the world are offering shares in them at a discount. So if you have cash, now is the best time. As we said to you off air, there's no guarantee that it won't go down slightly further. But what we do know from historical data is that eventually it will recover and it will trend upwards. The kind of old adage is, it's time in the market, not timing the market.
I'm going to repeat that because that's such a good word. It's time in the market, not timing the market, right? So it's not about, I'm going to be this expert timer. I'm going to come in right at that. But it's how long are you going to be there? Because
Exactly.
money takes time to grow. And I think, was it Warren Buffett as well who did this cumulative calculation that even if it grows slower, the fact that you've had it a year longer or 2 years longer means you have more money than somebody who entered late.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's true. That's a great analogy. I don't go into the supermarket and say, well, wait a second, that's 2 for 1.
Yeah.
When is it going to be 3 for 1?
3 for 1.
You
I just
don't,
go,
do you?
yeah, deal, go, right?
It's important not to be greedy when it comes to our finances, unless you're willing to take on an enormous amount of risk.
Yeah.
But when you're deciding to invest in something as well, you've got to sit down and look at your long-term plan. So things do take a little bit of time. So actually, timing the markets is actually quite a difficult task because you don't know how long it's going to take for the paperwork to go through, etc. So
True.
Precisely.
it's really important to look at, okay, I have a pot of money. It's being wasted away in the bank, so there's no point keeping it there. So actually, if I sit down and speak to a financial advisor and look at that, where I can put it, then we can put it in now. Yes, we can't time the markets, but we know now that it is low and we know that we are going to get some increase over the years to come.
Welcome back to Radio Bath. We are still in business conversations with Unividual, your money experts. Still talking about investments, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established is don't panic, don't start taking money out and everything like that. What other tips of investing can you give?
Yeah, a lot of people, clients of ours included, would ring up and say, I'm a bit nervous because this is my retirement pot, and if it goes down anymore, I'm going to lose it. So shall I take it out and then put it in the bank and then it's safe? So I think it'd be good for Simon to go through
absolutely.
a couple of key stats that we thought that might help few people.
I think it's when you see the value of your investments going down, it elicits an emotional response, and you have that fight or flight response. And often people's flight is to take their money out because they don't want to see that money go down any further. What's important to remember is that is the point when you actually make that a loss. People talk about losses. The sort of terminology that really frustrates me the most is when we see a drop in markets and the news say billions wiped off the FTSE. It's not been wiped off. It's not gone anywhere.
Nobody's lost any money. It's just it's on paper.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's the same when you see the value of your investments go down. It is a paper loss. Exactly that. The way you make it and crystallize it a loss is if you take that money out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the conversations that we have with clients is, it's that hand holding and saying, look, we talked about the fact that markets go down as well as up. If you take that money out, you will crystallize that loss and you'll be worse off. And there's been some statistics sort of put together as a business about if you were to invest £10,000 for 10 years and you left it invested and didn't touch it for those 10 years, you'd have £56,000.
No matter what happened in those 10 years.
No matter what happened. However, if you start fiddling about and taking it out, putting it back in, if you were to miss the best 25 days, only 25 days.
What do you mean the best 25 days?
So the days in that 10-year period where markets performed the best.
25.
Yes,
That's
only
on
25
average,
days.
Only 25 days.
So as a percentage, that's 1/3% of that time,
wow.
right?
Okay.
That 56,000 is now 18,000. Yep. Exactly. So it's so important to stay invested. And
That's an interesting one, 25 days, because basically when we put our money for that period of time, 10 years, we're helped only by 25 days out of however 3,650 days in that time frame.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't know when those 25 days will come.
Exactly.
It will come. Okay, because it's an average of 25 days. That is amazing in the 10 years. And if you keep flip-flopping back and forth, you might have missed it.
more importantly, those best days normally come after a market downturn.
Yeah, you were sharing with me, and are you allowed to share that that thought? Like throughout history,
Yep.
every time there's you explain it.
So there's basically a graph, and it shows kind of global equities for the last 20 years, and it's got certain things dotted on there, like the dot-com bubble and how that affected markets, the subprime mortgage crisis, and the subsequent global financial crisis. And when you look at that graph, these global catastrophic events, you were talking about it, Sherry-Ann, about how at the time it was like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, of
Are
course.
literally just little blips, because what often happens is it goes down, and then it goes back up right afterwards.
And back up to the normal, or
Or
back up
beyond it.
even further.
Beyond it,
Okay, beyond the normal. And so why are we panicking so much? What are we hearing that?
It's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we all, we've heard about energy crisis and the energy crisis and the prices going up. People are being made redundant. They're losing their jobs. There's been a lack of support from the government in terms of people with benefits. So there's a lot of talk at the moment, not just in our country but across the world, about how we're in hard times, difficult times. And I think it doesn't matter what you earn, you feel that. And it's in work, it's amongst your friendship circles, you see it on the streets. And it's difficult. It makes you feel anxious and stressed about what's going on in the world. And we're the lucky ones.
Yes.
We're not the ones who are choosing whether to heat our lounge or feed our kids.
Exactly.
Or feed ourselves because we want to feed our kids. So that's why we feel like this, because it's just surrounding us all the time.
Constant.
And a lot of financial planning, you have to coach yourself, or you have to get someone like us to coach you for yourself. It's well-being, it's dealing with that stress and staying grounded and relaxed during these times, knowing that things will recover. And it's that whole, we joked earlier about just don't look at the statements, don't get, when your investment stuff or your pension comes through the door, I'm, years away from retiring, just don't look at it, because you're not going to do anything about it. If it's gone down, it's only going to make you feel bad and worry. It's best just to leave it alone.
Coming from a country where financial planners are not so highly regulated,
Okay.
my only advice is that, and probably doesn't happen in the UK, but when you've chosen a financial planner, and if you've chosen a good one, and I think there's lots more regulations here, you can be sure that the funds they pick for you are also regulated, are also research analyzed. How when a company goes bad, every company, having run companies for the last 15 years, it goes bad years. It's not always up and up and up, right? So every company goes to, the question is, who's the management? What are they doing? What are they doing on a daily basis? If it goes bad completely, most good financial planners wouldn't even have it in their portfolio, right? The ones in my country, sometimes they do. It's a problem.
Sure.
It just looks like a great company, and they just take a little snapshot, and because most people are not literate enough financially to be able to understand the balance sheets and the numbers and everything. but there's a lot hidden in there. But here, because it's so regulated, you can confirm that. If it's on a portfolio, typically it's been well researched and everything. So even if there's blips, like any company will go through, that's the value. That's why it's important to have a financial planner during these times.
It is, and I think a highly regulated industry comes with, the financial consumer. What's it called? FCA.
Financial Conduct Authority.
No, I was going to say the compensation.
Oh, Financial Services Compensation Scheme.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so consumers are protected by that. So if things go wrong and an advisor hasn't done a good enough job, they can put a complaint in and it can be investigated. And
brilliant.
in an unregulated environment, that probably is unlikely to be in place. So there are lots of things in the UK to protect consumers in and around finance, and we have. A lot of the stuff we have to do behind the scenes, we don't even share with our clients because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And we shield them from that. And that's the point of having an advisor. You don't have to deal with all the paperwork and all
Well,
of the
that's why you've been
admin.
busy, so I've heard.
Yeah.
A lot more paperwork has been put in,
Yeah,
which
there
is a good
has.
thing.
It is good for the consumer and it protects the consumer. So that is the benefit of being, in the UK and being protected by some of those things that have been put in place.
It's an interesting one, that graph you mentioned, though, Simon, because this is not the first time in the history of, human beings that we've had a blip in the market.
No. Yeah, I suppose the only thing I would
And this
temper
is
it
not
slightly.
the worst.
No. The only thing I'd temper it slightly is just it feels like it's just been one thing after another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously we had COVID, then we had the war in Ukraine, and now this current sort of political situation. I was at a talk the other day, and they said, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm sick of all these once in a lifetimes we keep getting. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
But
events.
That's true. Coming from a less stable country, though, this is a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I think when it comes
yeah.
to your wellness, it's about putting things in context, isn't it? And I think it's important to do that and remind yourself that actually we do have a lot of infrastructure in this country.
You do.
And we are
You
protected
absolutely
in many
do.
ways.
You have a free healthcare system.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. I have never experienced that in my life. Before I moved to Europe, France, when I lived there, yes, we had that. I kept going. Every time I get treatment, I would go to the cashier and say, how much do I owe you? And they're like, looking at me like, it's free. And what part of free do you not understand, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, I just can't believe it. Everything everything is private where I come from. And that's itself is so burdensome.
Well, I think because we pay a lot of, that's all paid through our taxes. So I think that actually we have, the public, rightly so, kick up a stink when things aren't done in the way that they believe, because we pay for a lot of this through our taxes. So whilst it is free, you feel like you're contributing to it, and if it's not implemented in the way that you want, then we moan about it, and rightly so. But I think it creates this dialogue in our country that can be quite stressful. And I think it's important just to stay grounded with it all and just look at yourself sometimes and your personal situation and just focus on that and worry about that. And speak to your advisor and get the support that you need and just the reassurance, because sometimes my brother does my finances, and just for him to turn around and go, oh, you're fine, there's nothing we need to look at, just stay as it is, it's like, okay, phew, well,
that reassurance.
I don't need to worry about that then.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you've got an active income source, that's also quite a good thing.
Well, I think what investing provides is that you've got your business as potentially a source of income, or your salary as a source of income. You've then got a source of income from investing, and I think if you can have multiple sources of incomes that you can set up, that's when you can start to really grow your wealth and protect yourself.
Somebody said he was a very wealthy entrepreneur, and because he is a very wealthy guy, people ask him, what should I do? What should I do? Right? And his comeback was a bit cheeky, but I appreciated what he was trying to say. He said, if you need to ask me what to do, the first thing you need to do is gain more skills. That's it. The first thing you do is not to make financial decisions, is to learn. Okay, whether it's through reading more about how to make better, how to make investments, or talking to a financial advisor, or doing something. Stop going around networking events or your social circles and trying to find the richest person in it and ask them what to do, because just giving you a 5-minute advice is probably backed up by years of experience, mistakes, knowledge, advice from other people. So if you are listening to this and saying, well, what do I do now? Well, maybe the first thing you need to do is talk about your finance with someone who is knowledgeable. And I would recommend you guys sitting in front of me, because it's just the easiest thing. There's no obligation. It's all confidential. You don't have to sign up for any contract afterwards. They're a nice bunch. Well, I think so anyway. Quite relatable. And that's what I did, because finance was never my thing.
Yeah.
And I was working so hard. I'm a great hard worker, active income earner. I'm terrible at making my money work for me. So it was, and that's why I always have a financial planner, because I can't be bothered, which means whenever I read things about finance, it just goes bzzzt in my head, and there's a little blender in my head that just goes, "Woo! What was that?" And that's my weakness, and that's fine. Well, that's why people like you come along.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that, and to be honest with you, I feel like that, and I work in the industry, which is why I try to put everything in absolute, like, plain speak English. So a lot of my posts, I'll put, in this industry, we call it crystallising your losses. Well, what the blooming hell does that mean? Like, I put on my LinkedIn post the other day, what does that mean? And someone absolutely loved that. We try to put things in plain speak, and we try to educate people so that you genuinely actually understand, using analogies and stories and things that relate to people and who you are.
Yeah, and the information you give in your website is absolutely genius as well, because it's absolutely, you don't even take our email address.
No,
we don't take data. You just download the thing and get on with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it unividual.co.uk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So unividual.co.uk.
She knows it off by heart now, having interviewed us for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's always a com or co-UK type of thing,
.co.uk.
right? Unividual, and I love the name because it's unique, individual. That's what financial planners are. They're unique and individual to you. So if you're feeling a bit confused, it's also a good time. Don't try to, I'll speak to them when I know what I'm doing. Well, then you don't need them. Okay, if you know what you're doing, this is a time to do that. And pick a, don't just talk to them, talk to other people. That's fine.
Definitely.
Just
There's a really good website called
have
the
to be
Money Advice
comfortable.
Service. You can actually you can actually search all the advisors within your local area.
Oh, there you go.
And then you can start checking out their website, see what you think. And that's the best place to start. And you need to look for a chartered financial planner.
Right. Fine. Any last advice?
Yeah, I think, like, remember what makes you happy. Keep things balanced. Try not to panic. Mr. Mannering, if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And, like, don't be afraid to seek help. A lot of people don't pick up the phone and ring us because they're scared and they don't want the realities of, retirement and what they're going to just do it. Like, we're really friendly. We like to make things fun. Just do it. Just get on with it. Pick up the phone and just ring us.
And for me, I think some people have probably had quite a lot of success doing it themselves over the last sort of 10 years because it's been a bull market. But now we're actually seeing the other end of things. And now is the time when you could potentially do yourself much more harm than good. So if you're unsure and you'd like some guidance, advice, come talk to us or talk to someone else. Just have a chat to someone so you don't cause yourself too much.
We even get people in our industry actually use us for advice.
I think that's true. I think you're a hypocrite if you are a financial planner and you don't have a financial planner, because looking at your own portfolio, you are the most biased. You're looking at it with your own panicky glasses as well. I'm sure you guys have an emotional reaction when it's your money.
Well, we were
and
talking
you've
about
got
this
your
the other
kids.
day, weren't we? And we were saying how Greg, who you know, and Simon were going to look at doing each other's finances because
There we go.
it's holding you to account, isn't it? But we get people from the banking environment, from investment companies who are very high up leaders within the finance industry come and work with us. So if they think about how much they must know about managing money, and if they're still outsourcing it to us, well, that says it all.
Exactly. When I used to be a business coach and own my own business, we always said you're a hypocrite if you're a business coach and you don't have a business coach. And you think you're going to grow your business all on your, your own head. Well, thank you very much. It's always
You're
lovely to
welcome.
have you. And we're going to have you next month again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. More
Thank
money
you.
tips. The more the better, because I think there's a lot of worried people now.
Yeah, if anyone wants us to cover anything specific, then they can get in touch with us and we can
Yes.
put something bespoke together.
Yeah,
Either
definitely.
get in touch with Unividual at unividual.co.uk or just email studio@radiobath.com if you need us to relay the message. We're always in communication with them. We'll be back with more business conversation next week.